for the thick filaments. Okay, muscle contraction is initiated by the signal sent by the brain, which is there in the central nervous system. Okay, the signal will be sent by the brain with the help of a neuron called a motor neuron. Motor neurons always carry the information from brain to different organs. Okay, here a motor neuron is connected to the effector organ and forms a unit called a motor unit. What is that called? Motor unit. The junction between the motor nerve and the sarcolemma. You know very well about sarcolemma, right? Plasma membrane of the muscle fiber is called sarcolemma. The junction between motor neuron and sarcolemma is called neuromuscular or muscular junction. In shortcut I wrote there neuromuscular junction. Okay. Here a neural signal reaching this junction. When this neural signal reaching this junction, whenever the junction receives this neural signal, okay, it releases a substance called a neurotransmitter. What is that called? Neurotransmitter. This neurotransmitter, best example for neurotransmitter, various neurotransmitters are there. Among them, acetylcholine is the best example for one of the neurotransmitter. This neurotransmitter, okay, which generates an action potential, generates an action potential in the sarcolemma. Okay, this leads to, or this spreads the muscle fiber, causes a release of calcium ions. Okay, the calcium ions automatically releases into the sarcoplasm. What is sarcoplasm? You know that cytoplasm of the muscle fiber is called sarcoplasm. When these calcium ions are continuously spreading, okay, these calcium ions binding with subunit of troponin, okay, they bind to the subunit of troponin on actin filament. Actin filament contain troponin. Okay, so and thereby remove the mask that is present for myosin. Okay, now finally the mask was removed for the myosin. Okay, here this entire process required energy. The energy will be in the form of ATP. ATP is considered as energy currency of the cell. It will undergo for hydrolysis process. Now, myosin head binds to exposed active site on actin to form a cross bridge. What it helps to form? Cross bridge. Now, we have a diagrammatic representation for that. In this diagram you can see slides which are overlapping on the other surfaces. Now, this first diagram, which is best example for sliding filament theory, it helps to understand the process of sliding filament theory. In this theory, 3 steps are there. First step, relaxed muscle proteins, okay, contracting, and the third one is maximally contracting. Now in the second diagram, if you carefully see, cross bridge formation, which I said in the previous point, and you can see how myosin heads are binding to the actin, okay, and forms a cross bridge. Okay, now here you can see after formation of cross bridge, this pulls the attached actin filaments towards the center of A band. Now the Z line attached to this actins Z lines are attached to this actins and are also pulled inwards, thereby causing shortening of sarcomere. Shortening of sarcomere. Okay, this helps to identify the contraction. It is clear from the above steps that during shortening of the muscle, what happens? Contraction will be occurs. The eye bands, whatever there, the eye bands gets reduced, where A bands retains the length. What happens to A bands? They retains the length. They retains the length. Finally, the myosin releasing ADP, adenosine diphosphate, okay, and goes back to a relaxed state. Now, finally, from the ADP, when it binds to one phosphate molecule, it leads to formation of another ATP molecules. Okay. Finally, after formation of ATP, cross bridge will be broken. Okay. Cross bridge will be broken. The ATP is again hydrolyzed. The ATP is again hydrolyzed by the myosin head, and cycle of cross bridge formation will be repeated again. Okay. Now, further the process continues till the calcium ions are pumped back to the endoplasmic reticulum, which is otherwise called as a sarcoplasmic reticulum, that contain cisternae. So these calcium ions should be back to the sarcoplasmic cisternae, resulting in the masking of actin again. Okay. Now finally what happens? This causes a return of Z lines to their original position. That indicates relaxation. The reaction time for the fibers can vary in different muscles. In biceps muscles, triceps muscles. Okay. In various muscles, this kind of what we can call reaction will be different. Okay. Here, a repeated activation of the muscle. If muscles are continuously activating, what will happen? This leads to accumulation of lactic acid due to anaerobic respiration. During anaerobic respiration, glycogen will be converted into lactic acid in them, causing, if lactic acid formation occurs, it causes muscle cramps or muscle fatigue. Okay. Muscle contains a red color oxygen storing pigment called myoglobin. Okay. Similar structure to the hemoglobin. This myoglobin continuously supply a high quantity of oxygen. Okay. The myoglobin content is high in the reddish colored fibers. These muscles also contain, okay, mitochondria. What are they called? Mitochondria. You know very well about mitochondria, which helps in cellular respiration, which can utilize a large amount of oxygen. They utilizes large amount of oxygen stored in them for the process of ATP during cellular respiration. These muscles therefore can also be called as aerobic muscles. If oxygen is there, mitochondria utilize it for the process of respiration. Such kind of respiration is aerobic respiration, and such muscles are called as aerobic muscles. Why? Because in those muscles aerobic respiration occurs. Okay. On the other hand, muscles possess very low quantity of myoglobin. Okay. If low quantity of myoglobin is present, what will happen? Anaerobic respiration will occur. Anaerobic respiration leads to formation of lactic acid. Okay. The mitochondria are also very few in them, but the amount of sarcoplasmic reticulum is very high. Okay. Mitochondrions are very less. Mitochondrions are very less, but sarcoplasmic reticulum, nothing but endoplasmic reticulum is very high. They depend upon the anaerobic process of energy. What is that? Anaerobic process of energy. Understood everyone? That's all for the today's session. Remaining part will continue in the next class.